Welcome back to Aunt Susie's Kitchen. Today, I'm going to be taking my husband's grandmother's famous cheesecake recipe and putting my own spin on it. We're going to be making a chocolate cherry almond cheesecake. So let's gather our ingredients and head to the kitchen. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to make the graham crust first. I have here 2 packages of just regular graham crackers that I just gave a quick, chop to. I broke them up a little bit so that they mix easier. I have a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. And because this is going to be a chocolate crust, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of dark cocoa. And I'm just going to blend these now until everything is well incorporated, about 30 seconds. All right. Let's go over the batter ingredients. I have 4 8-ounce blocks of cream cheese, 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, 16 ounces of sour cream, 4 eggs at room temperature, 2/3 of a cup of milk. I have some pure almond extract here. We're going to use 2 teaspoons of that. And I have 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. And that's it. Everything's gonna go right inside the same mixer. I didn't even wash it. I don't have to. All I had in here was the graham cracker mixture. And I just simply emptied it out. If you want, you can give it a quick wipe down, but it's really not necessary. And I love using my food processor for this because the blade really breaks down everything and makes the batter very creamy and very smooth, which is what you're looking for. So that's the cream cheese. This is the sour cream. This is, remember I said before, if you use less than a 9-inch springform pan, the batter is going to come very high because there are a lot of ingredients in this. And this is a very deep mixing bowl. So you want to make sure that you have enough space in your mixing bowl to do this. I think this is a 2.5 quart mixing bowl. So it's pretty big, and that's really what you need to do this all in one shot. So there goes the sugar. Everything's going in, like I said. It's all going in one shot. And that's what I really like about this recipe. Super simple, but so delicious. And that's it. I'm just going to measure out 2 teaspoons of pure almond extract and make sure that they are full teaspoons. You don't want to be cheap with that because this is where the almond flavor comes from. That's 1 and that's 2. Great. Okay, so I'm just going to put the lid back on this. And we're going to mix it until it's nice and creamy. Okay, literally that took maybe 15 seconds. I just want to scrape the sides down one time because sometimes the cream cheese gets stuck around the sides. And don't worry if you see any few bits of chocolate floating around, because they're going to completely dissolve on this next mix anyway. So again, literally, I'm gonna pulse this a few times and just get those few pieces incorporated. You don't want to overmix your cheesecake because then you will incorporate too much air in it, and as it cooks, those bubbles will rise to the top and they'll make your top look funny. So don't overmix it. You just want a nice smooth batter, and it literally takes maybe another 5 seconds to do that. Perfect. That's it. But I want to show you how smooth this is. For anyone who's ever struggled with lumpy cheesecake or lumpy cheesecake batter, that is because it's very difficult in a traditional mixer to beat all of the lumps out of cream cheese. Even at room temperature, I find it can be difficult. And so this, for me, is a foolproof way. I have never had a lumpy batter making it inside my food processor. So let's go grab those pans and get this in the oven. Okay, so I just want to show you how I have prepared my pan before I get the graham cracker crust in the bottom. And I have here an oven bag, an extra large oven bag, and I've just cut it so that it is taller than the sides of my springform pan. And I'm going to put this in between the water that I'm going to pour in here and the actual cake pan itself. I always find that even though I use aluminum foil on the bottom, somehow water seems to creep inside the bottom. And so someone suggested this to me very recently, and I'm gonna give it a shot and see how it works. Okay, so I have that graham crust, it's all ready. Just really quickly, I don't know if you noticed or not, but when I was pushing the graham crust into the pan, I went up the sides maybe a third of the way, a fourth of the way, just to give the crust a little bit of structure so that when you serve it, you can see that little bit of crust along the outside. You can come up as high or as low as you want, but I find if you come up any higher, as you pour the batter in, sometimes the crust will break away and drop into the cheesecake. So this is about as high as I like to put it. Now, see if you can see along the side of the pan there how far up I came, which not very much. Okay, so over the back of a spoon, pour it, and we do it over the back of a spoon just to get it started, because you don't want to have the force of the cheesecake batter break up the graham crust at all. And if you packed it in there tightly, that shouldn't be a problem, but who wants to take a chance, right? Okay, so just get your spatula, don't leave anything behind, because that would be terrible. Unless, of course, you want to lick the bowl, and then you certainly can leave behind as much as you want. But there's raw eggs in here, so be aware that, okay, that's it. So you see how high this came up? Like I said, this is a very full cheesecake that we're making. And if you use a smaller pan, you may not get it all in there. So that's why I like a 9-inch springform, because then by the time you get the crust in the bottom and all of this delicious batter, you are just about to the top. And I'm gonna say we are probably about 3/4 of an inch from the top. And as it cooks up, it's definitely gonna get very close to the top. So I'm going to pour some hot water inside here and make a bain-marie. And then this is gonna go in a 350-degree oven for about an hour. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. I do not want to see it start to, bubble up on top too much, because that's what causes a cracked cheesecake. When I remove it, it's going to have a gentle wiggle in the center. I'll take it out and I'll show you when we get there. And I'm gonna place this towards the bottom part of the oven. Not on the very bottom, but I'm gonna say the bottom center, because if you place it too close to the top, you'll get too much browning on top, and that doesn't leave a very pretty picture when you're going to serve it. So let's get this in the oven. Okay, so we're pouring the water very carefully into the pan as it sits on the rack in the oven. It makes it safer to move. And we're only gonna go up about 1/4 of a way on the pan. And that looks about good. Just be very careful when you're pouring, that you're only pouring into the pan and that you're not getting any water inside the bag that we've put there, because that's gonna defeat the entire purpose of having the bag there to begin with. So make sure that all the sides are pulled up on the bag and that the bottom of the pan is completely protected and that the water only goes into the pan. Okay, this is gonna get set on a 1-hour timer, and then we're gonna come check it. Okay, it has been an hour. I just removed the cheesecake from the oven, and as you see, it is a beautiful and even tone up top. And if I give the pan the slightest shake, you can see that it has a nice little wiggle to it. So I'm going to let it sit here now for at least an hour and come to room temperature before I try to refrigerate it. Let's just talk real quick about the bottom of this plastic that I put in here, this bag that I put between the cheesecake and the water. It is bone dry. Not one drop of water got inside here. And the cheesecake is cooked perfectly. And I am expecting a beautiful, crispy crust without any soggy bottom this time. This is definitely a proven technique. And I hope you all try it, because this is how I'm making my cheesecakes from now on. So remember that 1/2 cup of graham crackers that we reserved. I'm going to just put them in a pan and spread them out. Don't get fancy, because all we're gonna do is bake these for about 5 minutes. And it's going to make almost like a little shortbread. And we're gonna crumble that up and we're gonna use that for garnish as we finish up the cheesecake. This is just gonna go in a 350-degree oven for 5 minutes, and then we're gonna pull it out and let it cool completely before we break it up into crunchy little bites. Okay, we are back, and this cheesecake is completely cooled and ready for some garnish. So what I have here is, I'm gonna just move this to the side, and I have 1 cup of heavy whipping cream with 1/4 cup of sugar and 1 teaspoon of pure almond extract. And I'm gonna use my immersion blender. You can beat this by hand. This is not a large quantity of whipped cream. It would only take a few minutes, but I'm gonna be lazy and I'm gonna use my immersion blender, and I'm going to blend this until I have a nice consistency of whipped cream. Okay, that literally took about 30 seconds, so that's why, as easy as it would have been to do it by hand, it was even easier to do it with my immersion blender. So if I can get this button popped in, I can take the top off and just make sure we're not wasting any of that delicious whipped cream. Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to grab my cherries. Now, you might have noticed before when I was going over the ingredients that I had the cherries separate. So this is 1 can of cherry pie filling. And all I did was separate the thick syrup from the actual cherries. And you really can do this just with a fork. Just pick all the cherries out, and what will be left behind is all of the thick jelly-like substance. And I'm going to go grab a spatula real quick, and then I'm going to fold the cherries into the whipped cream, and we're gonna go ahead and garnish the cake. I'm also going to grab that chocolate crumble, we'll call it, that I made before. It was in the oven for exactly 5 minutes. No longer, because if you left it in any longer, it definitely would have burned, because remember, we used pure cocoa powder in there, and cocoa burns at a very low temperature, so you didn't want to leave that in any more than 5 minutes. All right, so cherries here, and I put the other cherries to the side, the cherry syrup, or the cherry glaze as I call it, to the side, because right now, for starters, I just want the whole cherries, and I'm literally just going to fold them into the cream that we just whipped. Beautiful. And don't over whip it, because you're not looking to deflate the whipped cream. Remember, there's no stabilizer in here. This is just cream, sugar, and a little bit of pure almond extract. And that's it. We're just gonna fold that in nicely, just like that. Bring the cheesecake back over here and center that where you can see it. Now the cherry glaze is gonna go on first, because that we want on the bottom. We want that directly on top of the cheesecake. Let me grab an offset spatula. Easier to work with. And I just want to bring this all around to the outside. And that's it, super simple. Just evenly coat the top of that cake. That's it. Okay. Now I want to grab that crumble. I'll put the cheesecake to the side and bring that crumble in here and just show you. And as I was saying before, it basically is going to cook up like a shortbread cookie almost. It's a little bit crisp, and it's making chunky but very soft, almost like cookie bits. And this is going to give us some texture, because cheesecake is very creamy and delicious, but it's nice to add a little bit of texture to it just to kind of break up, you know, that very smooth consistency. And all I'm going to do with this is just go around the outside get some of those cookie crumbles. That's that. And now we're just going to spread the whipped cream with the cherries in it over the top. Okay, and the very last thing I'm going to do, and this is certainly optional, is I have another cup of whipped cream that I've whipped with a little bit of sugar and some vanilla. And I'm just going to add a little bit of additional decoration around the side of the cake. And you certainly don't have to do that. I'm bringing this to a family gathering tomorrow, so I just want to give it that little extra something. And that's it. I think I've got enough here if I wanted to do one more in the center. Whoops. And that is it. All right. So that's it. This is my chocolate cherry almond cheesecake. You certainly could use this basic cheesecake recipe and make it 15 different ways. I like to add lemon to mine and some lemon zest, and then I make a lemon whipped cream. And like I said before, I do pumpkin cheesecake. I've made a Bailey's Irish cream around St. Patty's Day. There's really no end to the possibilities, nothing really more than your imagination. And as I'm sitting here looking at this, I'm going to just go and add a little bit of that crumble that we made. Again, just adding a little bit of texture. Put a little bit in here like that. And that's it. This is a done deal. Okay, thanks so much for coming by today. Make sure you hit the like button if you liked it, of course, and subscribe so you don't miss our weekly videos as they come out. Leave a little note below. Let me know you were here. Make sure you come by social media. Check us out. We're Aunt Susie's Kitchen on Facebook, Aunt Susie's Kitchen on Instagram, and of course here on YouTube. Our channel is Aunt Susie's Kitchen. Make sure you come back and see us again because there's always something good cooking.